Welcome, everyone. Like usually when I start these podcasts and interviews and conversations, I have all this energy and I can't wait to introduce the person. But today, all of a sudden, I find myself super nervous because I even lost my thought process because of how nervous I am. I know I come across as this big personality, but when you're sitting across legends, trailblazers, powerhouses, like my good old friend over here, and you see, he does not even put the title in front of his name, Doctor. That's to show you the level of humility that he has. Welcome, Doc. How are you?
I'm very fine. Thank you. Good to be with you on your show. Followed the show for some years now, and it's exciting. Great to be here.
Wow, Doc. You know what? You have paved the way. You constantly showing young optometrists, ophthalmologists, optical dispensers, the eye care community here on the African continent that staying where you are, it's unacceptable. An optometrist, an eye care leader constantly has to evolve, constantly has to adapt, constantly has to take themselves to the next level. And no one represents that more than you do. And so for me, having you on our platform today, it's such an honor and a privilege because I have observed you over years. I've learned from you for a couple of years now. And my, oh my, the accessibility that you have towards the next generation of eye care leaders, the humility which you do things with, it's mind-boggling. I just want you to just tell us who you are, before we get down into the conversation for today. Who is Dr. John Samssedi?
Thank you again for having me. My name is John. Patients call me Dr. John, but I'm John. I'm an optometrist. I practice in Lagos right now. I finished from the University of Benin, Nigeria, in 2003-2004 session. It could have been earlier, but there were some issues and strike actions and all that, and we graduated and we came into the optometry world. Just before I go into the full optometry, I'm married to my lovely wife Bernadette Obi Samssedi with two lovely boys, Daniel and David. And funny enough, before I got into the University of Benin, I had this passion for computers. Then it was, it was very old and ancient, talking about Windows 3.1 and Windows 95 as far back, 1995. I used to work in a business center owned by the family, and I had this passion. But I also loved the respiratory system. I loved the gastrointestinal system. I love the reproductive system. So I thought probably I will be able to do ONG. I will be able to do, things like that. But I love computers. I really had a passion for computers. Like I said, I worked in a business center. And my first choice in university was medicine. The second choice was computer science. Crazy,
wow.
Isn't it so?
Wow.
It was crazy. Wow. Choice medicine, maybe second choice pharmacy or dentistry, but the second choice was computer science. And maybe it was the combination of both that brought me into optometry. And we've been doing optometry since, and it's been fun. And at the time we were practicing, it was still teething as ODs, Doctor of Optometries. We were about the fifth set who were graduated as ODs in Nigeria then. And it was really tough, because we were trying to find our footing. Then it was always the difference between opticians and optometrists, and the new graduates were always annoyed. No, I'm a doctor, opticians. But for me, I saw what the problem was, but it never really bothered me. What really concerned me was trying to make a mark. I really was hungry to make a mark. There were certain cliches that went with the profession of optometry, like mass screening, vision screening. It was really big in Nigeria at that time. And all they knew optometry for was glasses. So if you go see an optometrist, they think It's about eyeglasses. And I never liked it because that was not what we did in university. We did pathology, we did neurophysiology, we did neuropathology, we did binocular vision, we did low vision. There was so much. And, then, all we could see was the prospects of optometry. And I never liked the idea that it was narrowed down to a piece of bottles that you hold in your hands, because I knew it was way more than glasses. So, funny enough, even when we started our practice back then in 2010, 2012, I didn't put a VA chart behind me because I didn't want to create the wrong impression. I refused to put a VA chart because most times once the people come into your practice and they see a VA chart, they say, "Oh, we've come again, glasses." So I wanted to redefine it.
Like that.
If for medical legal reasons, of which we need to take VA visual acuity, I probably would not even have had the Snelling chart, because it was now synonymous with glasses and with the optometrists or with the opticians. So I really, really wanted to create a mark, and that has defined the steps and the paths that we have found ourselves in this past 5-6 years, because we've been diving into different areas. I don't want to go ahead of you, but I mean, that's who I am. I love setting paths. For instance, the name of our practice, like you can see, is Ocuville. Ocuville simply means ocular village. I got the idea from Smallville, Superman, the series, So I wanted a place where you could come and all your eye care problems could be solved, not just glasses. If you needed surgeries, we knew where to direct you to. If you needed therapy, we knew what to do. If you needed low vision, we knew what to do. And we are seeing it being realized every day as we make progress today, Dr. Malapai.
Wow. What an incredible story. And for me, just the foresight and the vision for you to be thinking like that back then already, that is so phenomenal. And I guess it goes back to what you were exposed to. You did not, a lot of the times what I have found is that students just go through the academic process and learning the academic process, but not taking the time to be a sponge in areas beyond the classroom, where you can literally sit with a contact lens specialist, sit with a pediatric specialist, sit with a person who's doing low vision, sit with people who are in private practice, as well as those who are in the public sector, while you're still a student, and be a sponge in those environments, so that the time you are closer to finishing, you are in a position where you know where you will be able to add value, redefine your value proposition as an eye care professional, and not limited to what you are being taught in the classroom. So my question then to you becomes, when you started out, did you have an end goal in mind? Was there a business model that you had put in place? Was there a vision that you had in place that helps you navigate your trajectory? Or is it unfolding as you're going along?
Thank you for that question. I fortunately was a part of a community that was big on leadership as early as 2007, when I just got married. So we were constantly taught and trained on the values of excellence and the value of building a long-lasting entity that will outlive the owner. We were challenged back then back then in Nigeria, how many businesses have lived 100 years? How many businesses have lived 50 years? That was the challenge we were given. And I began to think, because for small businesses back then, once you open 2-3 years, it may shut down because of the challenges of the business environment. Because now you're not just an optometrist, you're not just an eye doctor. You also have to put on your business cap. You need to pay your staff. You need to do a lot of things. You need to innovate. You need to tweak the innovation. Like now we have AI. I'm learning AI right now, because that's the future. You need to know how to incorporate artificial intelligence into your practice. This was not there years ago. So right then we needed to sit down and envision and look, if we want to be relevant in the next 20 years, then we need to do something. So I actually wrote a 50-year plan in 2010. Wow. I did a 50-year plan. It was crazy because by the time I got to year 10, I really didn't know what to write anymore. So I was just writing projections. Wow. Because the Japanese model was 100 years plan. The Japanese, they will do 100 years plan. The Chinese, and you could see it in the country. You could see it in their systems right now, the dragon and things like that. But we didn't really have that. So I had a few role models I could go to and watch and see how they did business, and see how probably them and learn from their mistakes. That's what one of the things I did. I learned from the people I worked from their mistakes. Maybe we gave them suggestions as young optometrists. Back then, this was like 15 years ago, and they didn't take the advice. We wrote it down. And as soon as we opened our practice, we implemented it, and it gave us that mileage. So what would have taken them maybe 5 years, in 3 months, we were able to, reach it. So one thing I did was, because of the community I belonged to, it was we call it the Daystar Leadership Academy. It was able to make us see beyond now. It was always more like, where do you see yourself in 10 years? Where do you see yourself in 20 years? So those were the things I began to stretch. Then they began to talk about training leaders, and we will go into that later. And it has really, really helped in forming our model, our business model now, and which is evolving. It's still evolving, and we're taking it from stage to stage, up in the ante. Yeah.
Wow. When you were starting out, what are some of the challenges that you encountered? Because obviously the team was there that was playing the role of leadership, support, but what are some of the challenges that you encountered in the beginning? Because if you had to look back where you are right now and where you started, there's obviously a difference in terms of what has changed, what has evolved, how you've had to adapt. So when you look back, what were some of those practical challenges that you had to overcome that made you not want to give up, if I can put it that way? Because a young person who's listening to you right now is going to be thinking to themselves, in 2010, perhaps these were the marketplace, but
Okay.
in 2023, going into 2024, the marketplace might be completely different. So what were your challenges, and how did you overcome those challenges so that you can continue building the vision?
Yes. So there were challenges. I think every young business owner, whether optometrist, medical doctor, whatever it is, they will encounter challenges. One of the very big challenges we had then was, I could say, human resources. It was huge for us. Getting the right personnel to fit the right role was an issue for us. And also, will I say, the commonwealth, because of where we come from. Getting access, because you see, if you have access to the commonwealth, it's going to be easy for you to be able to reach out to resources, not just financial resources, because I hear a lot of young business people say the main challenge is money. Yes, money is, but in the context of growth and development, money really shouldn't be a problem, because when the vision is there, there will always be the energy, the power to be able to drive that vision. It could be through partnerships, it could be through angel loans and things like that. But I could say that one of my biggest challenges was human resources. And even till now, it's still a challenge, because what is happening back in Nigeria, you have a lot of what we call the Japa syndrome. I don't know whether you've heard of that. So your best brains are migrating in droves. There's this unrest, unsettlement. So it's really affecting getting the best brains into the system. And then you have this Gen Z mentality as well. The Gen Z mentality, this young optometrists and young people everywhere don't want to work, but they want to get it big. They just want to make it big in 1 week, but they don't understand that you've got to go through the process. So they see someone who has, for instance, an OCT, you have this machine, you have the B scan, you have the A scan, and they're like, wow, I want to get it in 1 day. But it's not possible. You've got to go through the process. It took us time, it took us planning, it took us scheming to be able to get to where we are now. So I can say the times we are in is one of the challenges, and also the human resources is one of the very, very big, and access to commonwealth. Yes.
Wow, that is fantastic. That is fantastic. And I like the fact that it's not limited to money. If the vision is there, the money will be attracted to the vision. So sometimes you want to get the money first and then pursue the vision. And most of the time, it's never working out. You never have enough resources in terms of financial resources that are adequate enough. So you have to push through that, and you realize that that's actually the least of your problem, because if your vision is clear and you are committed to it, you'll attract the necessary people to that vision that will provide you with the necessary support. But the human capital is always going to be a challenge. Doc,
exactly.
You currently you running your business, but as I'm speaking to you right now, you are in the United States of America. My encounter with you over the years has been someone who goes out of their comfort zone, travels to different parts of the world to equip themselves, expose themselves, look at new innovative ways that can enable you to go back to your practice in Nigeria and take it to the next level. Where did that all start? Because sometimes people look at people that are like you, who are traveling the world for conferences, and they're thinking to themselves, I can't afford to go to conferences. That looks so expensive. How can I go to a conference in America? How can I do that? So how did that process evolve in your case that resulted in you then putting a priority towards the development of not only your practice, but also your professional career?
Okay, so when we started back then, I could say it was an evolution. So I started with a love for, wanting to put smile on people's faces, which is basically a general thing. Everybody want to make everybody smile. And we started with, I started with what do you call binocular vision, orthoptics. I had a passion for that. This was as far back as 2005, 2006, 2007. So, but there was a problem. I didn't have access to the instrumentation that could make these things come. And then we also had a problem where most of the parents, because most children are affected with binocular vision, they have to come with their parents. The parents easily gave up. They never wanted to come back. They say it's taking too long, 1 year, 2 years before you see a result. Having like an exotropia or esotropia turning back in, it takes a while, and then, okay, maybe this person needs a surgery. Why this, and then I went into low vision. I got some of the devices, and we were solving the problem for low vision, but the people couldn't afford it. It's too expensive, and your vision is still restricted. You have maybe poor color vision, you have poor depth perception and things like that. It was an issue as well. And then we began to go into practice management, trying to create an excellent practice and things like that. And then I could say my coming to North America was purely family motivated. We were coming to visit my in-laws because most of my in-laws live in the US. So, but in the process, I said, I don't want to waste this trip. If I'm going to be here, then I need to know what is happening. And at that time, it was the Vision Expo. It was in 2016. So we were in California, but the Vision Expo was in New York. And I told my brother-in-law, I've got to be there. Let me know what is happening in the industry. But I realized that most people who were coming for the Vision Expo were not really interested in the lectures, in the learning activities. They were more interested in the Facebook, the pictures and the selfies and all that. So I found myself paying extra for the conferences, for the internal lectures, because in those conferences you have internal lectures where you do workshops, so I was always going for workshops, and there was this hunger. And that led me to build a routine to want to always improve my knowledge. So I started making friends with massive clinics in the US where I go and I do maybe 1 month internship, 2 weeks internship program, see how they practice. And my dream was whatever is happening in North America can happen in Nigeria. That was my dream. I'm going to bring what is happening in North America and mirror it exactly in Nigeria. And we began to do that. And sometime in 2017, 2018, we entered into a partnership with the SUNY College of Optometry, where they were going to retrain, ODs who could afford it to come to New York and get the training. And that was how I came into, because I have this love for pathologies. I love diagnosis. I love to see, you have this big, it wows your patient when you just call the big name, this, that, and I loved it, being able then to say, this is what I saw in the textbook 20 years ago. Now I can see it in real life. This is ocular hypertension. This is a nerve problem. This is this, and this is a maculopathy and all that. I loved it. So that was why I went for the training. But when I got to the training, it was amazing because I saw things I had never seen before. And I began to question my learning process. I was like, what is wrong with you, John? Where have you been when this thing has been, going ahead of you? So, and I decided, I got into contact lenses, then scleral lenses. Trust me, it is revolutionary. What I saw scleral lenses do in people, I must say thank you, Professor Hugh. I don't know if she's watching. She's one of my lecturers in the university in New York, Sunny University. She made me do it, and I have not regretted taking that decision since then. It's been revolutionary, having patients who've lost hope, given hope on maybe anterior segment problems like keratoconus, pellucid marginal degeneration, Stevens-Johnson syndrome, suddenly coming and just with the device over their eyes, they have a brand new lease on life from hand movement, from 360. They are saying 6'6", they're saying 6'9". It's amazing. And what I do too is whenever I come back from North America, like I said, whatever knowledge I get, I put it down to my optometrists. We do retraining. I expose them to the videos. I expose them to the training. I don't hoard the knowledge. I make sure everybody with me knows what I'm doing, knows how to be able to do it. So that's what helped me. So even though I'm away from my practice 3 months, the clinic is still running because the business is running on principles, not on the individual. So even though, God forbid, we were not there, the business will still run and be successful. So gradually we are reeling out phases of the business that could make it stand alone, that could make it completely be independent of me and still have the same quality that it will have when I was there. Because patients have this attraction to their doctor. Oh, Dr. John, you're not around, I'm not going to come. This. No, we want to break that jinx to make them know that it's not about Dr. John, it's about the system. There is a system in place that will make sure if you have a problem, the problem is properly diagnosed and properly managed. Yeah.
Wow, I love that. I absolutely love that, because the thing about scleral lenses, though, it's that it's not limited to an age group within the population. You get that elderly patient who gave up on their vision 5-7 years ago because of a diagnosis that they had received from a doctor. And because of scleral lenses, it has been so amazing to witness how lives are actually changing. Because sometimes people with certain conditions, especially here in Africa where we are based, you find that people with that high need for visual correction in terms of scleral lenses or spectacles, whatever the case may be, live in very remote areas where they become like a burden to their family members because now they need to be taken care of because they can't see. Now, when we as eye care professionals provide those solutions for them to be able to see and be independent of the need to have assistance, it makes the family dynamics improve. It makes the family dynamics better. So I really, really encourage people to start considering evolving their clinical competency skills and look at the contact lens specialty option, because like you were saying, it has revolutionized your practice. And I'm sure now within Ocuville Eye Center, you guys provide a diverse range of services. A typical journey of a patient, can you please break that down for us? What's a typical journey of a patient? How does that look like in your practice from start to finish? Where a person who's coming to your practice for the very first time for visual needs or visual correction, how does that process look like? Where now you are here in America and your practice, because you have built the system, you have built the protocols in place, and you have built the necessary team to be able to run the services with the same level of excellence that you have instilled in them. What is the journey of a patient? Even better. That's the key. Even better. So what is the journey of a patient like for you? You can use the example of whether it's a pathology related case or a scleral related scenario.
Okay, so I could say basically there are 3 models of patients that come in. You have the classic walk-in patients, that's what we call them. So they just discovered that they've got an eye problem or their relation has an eye problem. They see your board or your advert and then they come into your practice. That's a walk-in patient. You also have the special needs patient. When I mean special needs, these are people who come in through outreaches, maybe from the church, they're referred, and they need special care. Then you have the health insurance model. We call it the HMO model. Now, the health insurance model is huge now in Nigeria because I could say in one of my branches, 80% of the patients that work in there are from the health insurance. So we've had to quickly subscribe to the health insurance. If not, you're going to run out of business because like all my staff are insured because we don't want to take chances. Health is wealth. You want to make sure if anybody has an issue with their health, they can have basic access at least to see a doctor and know what is wrong. Okay, so those are the three models. So I will talk about the health insurance model and the walk-in patients. So for the walk-in patients, they come in or they book an appointment. It depends because it's pretty much different from what you have here in the West, where you book a patient and if you don't come on time, you pay a demurrage fee. We don't do that in Nigeria because there are a lot of factors that mitigate against the patient not even being able to make it early to the clinic at certain times. So we welcome all. We just try to make everyone as comfortable as possible. So when they come in, they go in through the front desk, they do the registration process, and then they schedule to see the optometrist, the doctor. And then when they go in to see the doctor, and sometimes you could have an intern. Sometimes we have interns in training. They may go through the intern or they go straight to the optometrist. We try to use a complete database approach model so we don't miss out on anything. The reason is this. If you notice in some clinic models, which I do not subscribe to, it's more like a quick fix thing. I've even noticed it in some parts of America. They just tell you $1 you get 2 frames. And there is no way.
I hate that. I hate that model.
It's crazy. Because with that model, you will water down your services. You will water down the quality that patient can have access to. Okay. So we insist that everybody, goes through everything. For instance, we screen everybody for glaucoma. We do not assume because, for instance, glaucoma is one of the leading cause, if not the leading cause of unavoidable, blindness. We make sure everybody is screened for glaucoma. We do not miss because we've seen 7 years old with very high pressures, 48 millimeters mercury, 50, 7 years old, 3 years old. In fact, this morning, I just got a report, a 4 years old had a pressure, more like megaloconia with high pressures, So, and that's what we do. So you can imagine if we have this model where you just screen for glasses, you will miss out on very key aspects of, vision problems. Refractive problems even has so much, pathological problems, binocular vision problems. Then you can talk about specialty like keratoconus and all that. You will miss out. So we want to make sure we go through all that process. So we try to do a comprehensive test, unless the only time we do not insist on that is if probably in the last 1 year, the person has visited another practice and has had that detailed exam. So we now narrow it to what the person is coming for. Maybe the person is just coming for an OCT. I mean, you just have people who walk in and say, come, I just want to change my glasses. Why do you want to change your glasses? Do you have your previous prescriptions? Do you have problems? Are your glasses broken? And they're like, no, I just changed the glasses for me. You say, no. When last did you have a comprehensive eye exam? You need to have a comprehensive eye exam. So our front desk and our receptionists, they're trained to be able to manage people at that sphere, to convince them on the need for the comprehensive eye examination. Because we know when you have a comprehensive, probably a dilated eye examination, we will not miss out on a lot of diseases. We will not miss out on a lot of issues that are affecting, that particular individual. In fact, we've seen people with high blood pressure. We've seen people with diabetes. We've seen people with high cholesterol problems just because we were able to do a detailed eye examination where you have to do your slit lamp, you have to do your indirect ophthalmoscopy, you have to do, all of those tests we do, the pressure test and all that, the pachymetry, and we're able to become very precise. And this is what I find out when the patients realize, or your clients realize, that you are not just in it for the profit, for the money. They see that you genuinely care for them.
Absolutely.
They stick with you. They stick with you. We've seen people who come and there is a follow-up of their entire family. I could say their entire lineage. So the first person comes and they say, my wife is coming, my child is coming, my mom is coming, my dad is coming. So it's kind of one patient helping you with like a customer advocacy campaign. So they do the marketing for you. You do not have to stress yourself. You win one, you win all. So I think that kind of model is better, and I will advise more, optometrists, especially back home in Nigeria, to embrace that model of comprehensive, dilated approach to eye tests. And it will help, enhance our value as optometrists in the eye of the public and in the eye of all our how will I put it now? Our contemporaries. Let me use that word to be nice.
No, I totally understand where you're coming from, because even in South Africa, for example, buy this, get this for free. It has become such a norm that when the pandemic came now, our services, a lot of practices depends on price. And when your offering is dependent on the price, you have to drop down the price every single time.
Exactly.
And I get shocked sometimes where you see a practice saying a free eye examination. And I'm like,
exactly.
How do you do that? I never understand. When I go for my haircut, when I take my car to the car wash, it costs more than some of the practices that I've come across, where they say free eye examination, buy this, get that for free. And so I totally, I'm on the same page with you when it comes to, we have to have high regard of what it is that we are providing as eye care professionals. Because if we hold ourselves to a high esteem, and we build trust with the patients, we show them our competency levels, and we take them on a journey from they came in with this problem, but they're leaving at this level because we have provided them with solutions that elevate their visual and eye health and health experience. They trust us, and whatever we will recommend will be the solution for them. They will trust, because they trust us, they will go with that. And so you don't have to build a practice that's dependent on, oh, my patients are coming every 2 years. No, my patients are that is specific to them. So for me, I totally respect that, and I'm in complete agreement with you.
Yeah, this free eye test, free eye examination. How do you do that? I mean, it costs money to invest in knowledge. It costs a lot of money to travel. It costs a lot of money to buy equipment. I mean, a piece of OCT right now, even for refurbished, is over $30,000 US. How do you now tell me free eye examination? What we do is make sure the people see value in making sure and making them understand that the responsibility for their eye health and their total health is on them, not on the government, not on any other person. You cannot push the responsibility for your well-being to the government. The government is struggling with their own problems. So you cannot depend on the government for your well-being, for your welfare. And I mean, back home, we are big on Owambe. That's what we call it, parties. We like parties. People will spend fortunes just to buy what we call ashwebi. I know you're not used to that word, but it's like the dress, the regalia you wear when you're going for a burial or a wedding. Then spend.
Yes, I actually have that regalia.
So that's what we're trying to do: educate and re-educate the masses on the needs to value healthcare, value eye care, and also educate optometrists and all eye care, professionals that look, the business of eye care is not an ordinary business. It is serious business. If somebody comes to your practice and he loses his sight, that's an indictment on you. That's an indictment on you. There should be something you could do for preventable blindness. And that's what we should, not just looking for the numbers. You want to make the money and then you lose value. And that's just what I would advise,
Wow. That's absolutely amazing. I wanted to ask you, Doctor, you super passionate. The title of our conversation here today was building longevity in optometric practices through your clinical competency skills. Now, sometimes you meet people of a certain age, they are tired. Optometry is no longer the same for them. But with you, you sound like you've discovered a galaxy in the stars somewhere that in the universe that we're not aware of. So this passion of yours, where does it come from? And how do you fuel it? What fuels your passion for what you do? Because I think that's something that's very key in how it makes it possible for you to do the things that you are doing at the current moment. Where does this passion for excellence comes from?
It's huge. One, I could say, the present world that we are in today, innovation, scientific discoveries is so enormous that you will get bored. You cannot be bored. You cannot be tired. Learning is endless. I am currently doing a program on artificial intelligence and seeing how I can incorporate artificial intelligence, one, into my everyday practice and into marketing, because I also focus on marketing. I try to do a lot of marketing, because if people do not see your presence, there's no way they can feel your impact. So I do a lot of marketing. So I am learning not just how can artificial intelligence help you with diagnosis, correct diagnosis, accurate diagnosis, because models, as we speak, are being developed. Even your scleral lenses right now, there is a model being developed in scleral lenses on how scleral lenses can solve low vision problems.
Wow.
It's being developed right now, and massive.
Wow.
They're just waiting. I think they're on the second stage. John Gellis and Melissa Burnett, they delivered that lecture in one of the conferences I attended. And it was, I was struck with awe when I heard the level of advancement. How do you get bored when you hear that someone who was blind or practically blind or legally blind can now see? It fuels me. It makes me want to live again. That look, I can do miracles. That's what it is. I can do miracles. That's technically what it is. I mean, I remember this case of a young lady who had advanced keratoconus with high drops. She had done the cross-linking, it failed, and she came to us. She had lost every hope. She had lost every hope. In fact, when she came, because our practice is not very big physically, so she was like, if I've gone to the biggest clinics in this country, why are you bringing me to this small clinic? And we're like, just relax. And then we do it, and then from literally hand movement 360, she begins to see 6669 vision. Wow. And she bursts into tears. She literally bursts into tears. Now, you don't have that kind of encounters and experience and give up. You want to do more. You want to reach more people and put smiles on their faces. And of course, for every problem you solve, the more difficulty level on problems you solve, the more money you get. And that's the truth. If you solve small problems, you get small money. If you solve big problems, you get big money. And that's the truth. So what we're doing now in our practice is we want to solve all levels of problems. We solve the basic problems, your minor conjunctivitis, allergies, myopia, hyperopia. We solve those problems. We solve the intermediate problems. And then we solve the massive problems, like vision rehabilitation, which is what we are doing technically now, So the passion for what keeps me going is the fact that there is more in this field. Optometry is wide. It is huge. There is so much more that is so untapped, especially back home, that we've not learned. I mean, we've not even gone into punctal plugs. We've not even gone into amniotic membranes. We've not even scratched the surface. In the US, they're already doing things like challenge excisions for optometrists. They have their own devils, but we can kill our own devil. I believe that. And then you have also this new optometrists, fresh optometrists coming out of the school, and they're looking like, what are we going to do? And for me, it's an avenue to train people to come in. I mean, during the lockdown, we had some students who were literally students in the University of Benin, and they just came and said, look, we just want to work with you. We don't want to sit at home idle. It touched me, because I was like, this is excellence in the making. If this person will not sit with Netflix and Nollywood and watch TV throughout the COVID almost 1 year period, they came, they learned, even if they were at risk of not getting paid. Wow. I mean, one of them, we trained her so much, she became so good that I told her, you have to be careful when you go back to school. Most of the things you learned here, they're not, I don't think it's in the school model yet. So you better be careful. If not, so that you can graduate, we need you. And that's what we do. We train younger optometrists. And you know how it is when you have a young child and you train that child and that child grows up into something becoming adorable. It gives you, you feel top of the world. And that's how I feel when, will I use the word, my proteges, people I have trained, all that have gone through the system, come out on the other side. I have interns that have come through me, worked 1-2 years. Now they run their own practices. I have about 3 of them like that. They run their own practices. And they call me from time to time. So, Dr. John, we have this issue. And I smile. I remember when they came and they didn't know anything, because I too was in that position at some time. And somebody trained me. You know, somebody had to train me. I didn't fall from the sky. So I too have that. I owe that to my generation and the generation coming to train the upcoming ones. That makes me not comfortable with complacency, not comfortable with mediocrity. I want to always be at the top of my game to ensure that whenever I come in contact with these people, there is always knowledge to impart to them. So there is 2 things. There is the endless possibilities in optometry, which you cannot get bored. You cannot be bored. And then there is the training the young generation. That's what fuels my passion.
Wow. You know, you remind me of, even with, I graduated as an optometrist in 2009.
Okay.
And when I was in first year, I attended my first conference. The South African Optometric Association was hosting a conference, and I was one of 2 students at that conference. And I was in first year, but it exposed my mind to a world of eye care that I was not aware of. And as a result, I prioritized going to all the different conferences. And I realized that some of my classmates during the holidays, they too went and spent time in different optometric practices, equipping themselves with the necessary skills and knowledge that we were not getting perhaps enough of in the academic environment. So, for example, when we got to final year, you will find that there were certain students that had already worked on a topographer with over 200-300 patients, just being able to take the measurements, whereas the number of patients that you would have seen the time you get to final year would have been less than that. So the more exposure you give yourself as a young professional or as a young student, you're going to open yourself to a world of eye care that most people are not aware is existing out there. And if you're going to end up just better 1, better 2, optometry is going to be something that's going to be bothering you all the days of your life.
If you stay at that level of practice, it's going to be boring. It's going to be frustrating. And that's why you see some people even branch off into doing other things. Some people branch off into project management, optometrists, doctors. I know a friend right now who branched off into insurance. One of them branched off into just pure business. You know, and it's because they couldn't find their footing, you know, on time, you know, but thank God, God helped us. And we were able to navigate that course early and able to find purpose, because where purpose is not known, like Miles Monroe will say, abuse is inevitable. That's the truth.
Wow. Dr. John, right now, people that are watching this and who are going to be tuning to this conversation later, they're going to listen to it and then watch you speak, and they're going to be thinking to themselves, I've been an optometrist for 8 years, 10 years, and Dr. John has ignited a fire in me that I want to do things differently. So what advice then do you have for that person who perhaps, number one, is working in a practice that they're doing basic optometric services and they want to step out of that and do the type of optometry that you are speaking about? That's number one. What advice would you have to an optometrist who has been working in various practices, has a little bit of scleral lens knowledge, a little bit of binocular vision knowledge, they are a bit more than average, and they're considering starting their own optometric practice? What advice would you give to those type of individuals? So the first one is the one who was despondent and wanted to give up, but you have ignited that fire in them. Then the other one is that person who wants to start their own optometric practice and they've already built a small little bit of competency skills that can equip them to go in that direction.
Okay. The first one, I pray I don't veer off. The first one I will say is they can leverage the internet. They can leverage the internet. If you go on YouTube, there are hundreds and thousands of lectures and seminars. So you may not have the money to fly to the US, but this is the pattern. If you notice, most of the conferences, after about 6 months, 1 year, they put it on YouTube for free. So
Correct.
I may not have $600 to pay for a conference. I may not have the flight, the money, because in my country now, flying is crazy expensive. It's almost like building a house.
Yeah.
So yeah. So if you cannot afford that, you could go back to the internet and leverage the information. The internet is a house of information on things that you can do. I mean, I started with that in 2013, even though it was very meager. I mean, marketing for my business, we've literally in my practice, within we are 11 years old now as a practice. I've been practicing for 20 years this year. Now, we have attended to over 30,000 people.
Wow.
30,000 eyeballs.
Wow.
Pairs. So that's 60,000 eyes. Now,
wow.
That is as a practice. As an individual, I've seen way more than that. Now,
wow.
Let me tell you something. It is still, we have not scratched the surface, because let me tell you why. In Lagos, we are over 22 million people.
Sure.
Over 22 million people.
Just
in Lagos. Yes. Lagos is the commercial hub. In Nigeria, we are over 200 million. And this is just an underestimate, because we've not had a proper census in years. We are way more than that. And this is what I keep telling my staff. You cannot tell me that of the over 1 million people who will come across us, you do not have at least 100,000 with eye problems. How do we reach that 100,000 with eye problems? Because our money is lying there. We need to get it. I mean, that's the way I motivate my staff, because, you know, nobody works for you because they love you. They work for you because they want to get paid. So I always tell them, you are the #1 marketer of your business. If people cannot believe what you preach, how will they want to buy what you're selling? I should be an embodiment of the eye care industry. When people see me, they should see an eye doctor. When they see me, they see the solution to eye problem. That's what I want to be, an ambassador of eye care solutions. You know, and what I would tell the person, leverage technology. It's very, very important. Leverage the internet. Data has become very accessible. Data is cheap. Instead of spending time, you know, on YouTube and Facebook browsing crazy stuff, you could invest a part of that time on eye care information. I mean, I devote 1 hour a day just for new knowledge from the internet. That's what I do. Like I told you now, I'm on a course on AI. I'm training on AI because that's the future, whether you like it or not. And I do not like things taking me unawares. I don't like things taking me unawares. I always want to be ahead. I want to be there when it comes. So it comes and it meets me, and I'm excited. You know. So for the person who wants to start a practice, who is already beginning to garner knowledge and garner some funds, what I will advise is this. You can leverage partnerships. In Africa, we don't like partnerships because we don't trust ourselves, which is not good. You can leverage partnerships. I mean, I went to the US for a course. It was a group of Black elites. So I was to speak about my experience about scleral lenses in Nigeria. I mean, these guys are rich. They are Black millionaires. They have 7 practices. And I was like, oh, I have only 2 or 3, you know, but I had to speak. And one of them just approached me and said, come. He said, would you mind working in one of my practices? You know, we'll pay you this amount. And I laughed. I want to do what you're doing. I don't want to work for you. You understand what I'm trying to say? So we can leverage the power of partnerships.
Wow.
You can have someone who has the skill. He knows what to do. He's very good. You have the resources. You look for someone who has the marketing viabilities. You come together, start a practice.
Wow.
But, you know, in Africa, we want it to be my own. And so because of that, we don't want to leverage on another person's skill or another person's advantage. It's not, it won't help, you know, because when you have intra-professional relationship, it's huge, because what you can pull together. I mean, let me tell you this upfront. I have a dream. It's in my plan. It's in my 50-year plan. I wanted something, a kind of practice Do I tell my secrets out? No. I don't think I want to do that. Maybe in another show we do that. But I mean, what I want to do is, like I said, it's a hub. It's a hub. I'm telling you, for whenever I've had the opportunity to talk to the young students and talk to my colleagues who are having issues, I bring them back to what's your vision, what's your plan,
Yeah.
and how to restart that vision. Because there's sometimes where you feel discouraged. Have we felt discouraged? Yes. Maybe the only thing that discourages me is government policies. Trust me, government policies are crazy in my country. It can change in the split of a second. Those are the only things that annoy me. Apart from that, I can take on anything. But government policies, I don't like those things, you know. So I even had to go take some courses on policy making, public policy structure, just to be able to help me to position me to know when policies. But trust me, in my country, yeah, it doesn't really work like that. It could change at any time. So I would say, for that person, that young person, leverage the internet. One, the second person, leverage partnerships. Those two will help. Those two will help because, for instance, you could have an optometrist who is very rich and he doesn't want to go into everyday practice. And then you have a young optometrist who is very skilled. So if those two come together, that is wonders happening in the eye care world because every resource he needs is going to be available. You discuss your terms and conditions in terms of payment and sharing, and then the patients are going to benefit. The patients are going to benefit from that relationship.
Wow, that is so powerful. Wow. I'm living testimony of exactly what you've just said.
Yeah.
People see me at the forefront of a lot of things that I'm doing online, but behind me, it's other optometrists, other leaders who provide different skills, resources that I don't have. And because we partnered together, collaborated, found a way to work together, it has been able to produce work that is changing the industry in one way or another. So I completely agree with you. And I hope that the people that are going to be listening and watching to this, they can take cognizance of what you're saying, because that is exactly how things will change here on the African continent. Doc, I could talk to you for the whole day. I think we need to put you more in front of the camera. I don't think you realize the gift that God has put on your life. Some people, when they speak from a place of experience, a place of knowledge that they have. You speak from a place of authority because you know what's inside of you. You know what you are carrying within you, and you have an awareness of who you are. And as a result, when you speak, you don't speak something that you have read. You speak something that you are living. And so I stopped taking notes while you were speaking because I realized that, you know what, let me sit back and just sponge, and then I'll play this again and again and again.
But it's not a church. It's not a church.
No, this has changed my life, has changed my perspective in so many ways. And so we at the African Media family, we are grateful for you, Doc. We are super thankful for you taking the time out of your busy schedule and for us to be able to do this. And I know that this is only the beginning, because I know that your proteges are the ones that are going to keep coming onto the platform and taking eye care to the next level. So it's not about how many times we feature you, but it's about your proteges, the people that have been through what you have been doing, taking it to a level that is going to take the eye care industry to a whole nother level. So Doc, where can people connect with you? Where can people find you?
Okay, so we are on all social media platforms. We are on Twitter, we are on Instagram. It's just at Ocuville. If you just say at Ocuville or at Ocuville Eye Center. So we are on Facebook, we are on LinkedIn, we are on Instagram, we are on YouTube. We are, I think recently we got on TikTok because they said we have to be more trendy and more youthful. We have a huge following on Facebook, over almost 20,000 followers, and we try to bring up-to-date trends on the eye care industry. We try to educate our followers. Even also on Instagram, we're about almost 3,000 now. And you know, everything is monetized now, you know. So we try to make sure we bring content either on a weekly basis or on a monthly basis on how we can educate, you know, people on eye care diseases and preventive methods and all that. We try to use visuals because people hardly read nowadays. Only very few people read, so we try to use more of the audio visual content, because we realize if you package something into a 30 seconds, 1 minute program, it's easier for people, younger people especially, to read those things than when you make it a 5 minutes. They get bored. They want to watch comedy. They want to watch and that's another thing we're trying to do. We're trying to see how we could use AI to do comedy for eye care industry. That's I just leaked something. Sorry, I wasn't supposed to say that. We're trying, because we see that's the world we are getting into now. People would rather watch what do you call this big guy in South Africa, the comedy guy, the big comedy guy.
Trevor Noah.
Trevor Noah. They will either watch a Trevor Noah or watch a Basket Mouth or AY or this guy's here. They would rather watch we call him Macron. They want to watch all those guys. So we want to see how we could take their models and put it into the eye care model, and instead of just doing a 1 hour show that people could get tired of, and just make it into a 2 minutes clip and pass the message across. That's what we want to do. It's a lot of thinking, but it will work. It will work. Yeah.
Wow. Doc.
Thank you, Doc.
What a blessing. What a blessing. Everyone, make sure that you subscribe to the platform. Wow. If you're not connected with Dr. John and the different platforms that he has, we will share his links as well in the caption as well, so that you can follow them and connect with them as well. And make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. Until the next episode, stay blessed. Make every single thing that you do count. Don't do it as by the way. Because when you do it as by the way, you suffer, the patients suffer, the industry goes down the drain. But when you are very intentional about what you do, and you treat each and every single person that walks into your practices as the most important person to have walked into your practice, it means the level of care, the level of service, the level of experience that people are going to get from your practice is going to elevate. So that's what I would like to encourage everyone, that make what you do count, and don't compromise. Don't compromise when it comes to the ethics, the integrity. Don't compromise when it comes to how you conduct yourself as an eye care professional, because our industry needs you. Our industry needs you at your best, because if we are all functioning at our best, we take the industry to a whole nother level. Until the next episode, stay blessed and stay connected.
Thank you so much, Dr. Obi, and thanks to iAfrica for having me. Have a good one.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.